So this is the second stage of the Edelkrone Focus motor setup. What I've got here is a 90s, came out in the early 90s, Nikon 105mm f2.8 AFD micro Nikon lens, which is their macro lens. So the 105 macro lens. And what I've put here is I've got a focus gear ring, which you can get from Amazon. I'll leave a link below. And to make it work, you put the focus gear ring on the lens and attach the Edelkrone Focus 2. I already own the Focus 3, etc. But part of what I'm doing is, the thing with Edelkrone is on the internet, there tends to be mixed reviews of how good it is. So what I want to do is give fair, unbiased reviews. So my plan is, first of all, get on top of the Edelkrone version 2 system, and then I'll deal with the Edelkrone version 3 system. Reason being that a good way to get into Edelkrone is sometimes buying some second-hand equipment on eBay or on various other sites and getting yourself comfortable with it, and then perhaps upgrading to their newer gear. So anyhow, what we're going to do right now is we are going to calibrate this lens to make it work a lot better with the Edelkrone Focus system. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Edelkrone app, and let's just get my Face ID. There we go. And we go into the Edelkrone app. And so let's turn on the motor. Let's make sure I can turn it on. And so now let's just connect it. In order to calibrate the lens, what that basically means is we're going to set up distances, and we're going to instruct the focus motor on the distances of this lens. So what we effectively do is put into the app the various distances and where this lens is. So if I click add new lens, and it's moving right now, so it's asking me, am I on macro or am I on, well, am I on macro, yes or no, or am I on infinity, for example. And if I look at the lens, I can tell that I'm on infinity. So I click no. And so now it's going to rotate back until it, now it's asking, am I on macro? And macro basically meaning the closest focus that the lens can reach. And so I'll say yes. So set infinity position. So with this, you can set the infinity position by manually adjusting the lens. So I'm going to set the infinity position. That's it now. I've manually rotated it. And I'm going to click done. And now what it wants me to do is to map the lens. So no, I don't want to see the quick tutorial. So let's add mapping points. The Edelkrone app requires you to put in these mapping points on the lens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the lens, which then moves the focus motor because it's pressed against it. And I'm going to adjust the lens to each of the mapping points that are indicated here. And I then just put those into the app. So let's do this. So the first mapping point I have here is 3 feet. So I'm going to click add mapping point, and I'm going to put in 3 and done. And so I add 3 feet. So that's the first mapping point added. And the next mapping point is 4 feet. So add a map point, 4, done. So this is just how I do it. Now I'm going to set it to 5 feet. Add a mapping point, 5, done, add. Now the next mapping point is 7 feet. Then I rotate it further to 10 feet. And at the same time, the focus ring is moving as well, so it's learning it. and I now rotate it to infinity. So I've just rotated it to infinity. Now to add a map point for infinity, the code is 99. So you just put in 99 feet, I guess meters or whatever, and it understands that to be infinity. So done, add. Now I'm going to name the lens. So I'm going to call this lens the Nikon 105 f2.8 micro AFD EFM2 Edelkrone Focus Motor 2, because that's what I've calibrated it against. Save. So is it on macro or infinity? It's on infinity, and now it's set up. The next thing you can do is, if you want, you can send this lens that you've calibrated up to the lens community. Now, a reason to put it up on the lens community, as far as I can see, is if you want to access the lens on other devices, because it seems to me, I could be wrong, but it seems to me that this lens is only on this particular iPhone. But if I wanted, say, on my iPad or whatever, I need to send it up to the lens community and then download it back on my iPad. I could be wrong, but that's the way it seems to me. Feel free to correct me in the comments if you find the situation to be something different. So what I'm going to do is, if I click change lens, changing lenses will remove all saved key poses. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And so I have Nikon 105 f2.8 micro AFD EFM2. If I swipe left, I can upload it to the lens community by clicking upload. So I've shared my lens. Close down my mail and go into Edelkrone and connect to the focus zoom module. So we're connected. I'm going to say change lens, and I just click yes. Okay, so where it stands with my understanding of lenses is, if I want to get at a particular lens that I've created on, say, my iPhone, and I want to put it onto my iPad, to me, it seems to be that I've got to use the lens community. So I'm going to go into lens community. If I want to get one I created on my iPhone, it seems I have to send it up to the lens community. So if I click on search within the lens community and I put in 105, and well, I'll just put that in first and see what I get. Okay, so there's a lot of similar ones here. So I'm going to try something else. 105 space EFM for Edelkrone Focus Motor. See if that picks up the one that I uploaded. NIKO, and I do numbers 105, and I go AFD. What does this get me, if anything? Is it going to use a smart SQL search? No, it isn't. So come on, Edelkrone, you can do better than that. Nikon 105. There we go. There's the one I have. So I put it in as Nikon 105 f2.8 micro AFD, and it says it's from me. So if I go back to lens community, I'm going to put in Nikon 105. Now I think that was enough to get it. Yeah, Nikon 105. So it looks like when you're trying to get your lens back, you have to get the exact terminology from left to right. In other words, maybe it's not even left to right. Let's try putting in f2.8 micro and see if that works. So I'll just go back. I'll go to lens community again and search f2.8 micro. There we go, we've got it again. So what this basically means is, whatever piece of text you put in it's got to be exact. You can, for example, I can't put in 105 AFD. Well, let's just validate that, shall we? So let's go back out, lens community, and if I put in 105 space AFD, I'm betting this won't work. And it hasn't worked. So yeah, whatever piece of text you put in has to be exact. But once you put in the exact text, you can download your lens from the lens community. It's a bit of a shame that you can't actually maybe delete lenses you've put up or search on your own ID, basically, because I'm imagining the lens community is going to get pretty full up. So you probably want to put in some string, some text that you know is yours. That way you're getting back the lens you put up that you have calibrated to your own requirements. If, for example, you feel you're better at calibrating the lens than some other person. So, okay, lens community, Nikon, one, 0, 5. And there we go, and download that lens. There we go, we've got it here. So I've given this a good calibration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this other one because I don't want it any longer. And this Nikon 105 f2.8 micro AFD EFM2, Edelkrone Focus Motor 2. That's the lens that's the calibration I'm going to use with this Nikon when I'm using the micro Nikon f2.8 105 on the Edelkrone Focus Motor version 2. I'll have links to anything that's useful related to this in the description, and you can check them out and see if any of that stuff is useful to yourself. Okay, thanks for watching.